Hello, and welcome to this webinar on Interoception Awareness, Eating and Drinking. I'm Sue Eltringham. Both Sandra and I are occupational therapists, and we attended training by Kelly Mahler. The links to her work on interoception, resources, and further reading are referenced at the end of this webinar. We work within the Autism Team at Kent County Council, and so we've predominantly worked with autistic adults without a learning disability, and so have based this webinar generally on supporting this client group. So the webinar may not be suitable for everyone. However, the strategies could be adapted for anyone who is struggling to interpret their body sensations and emotions. So now that you've been able to put a face to a name, I'm going to turn the camera off and continue with the audio only for the presentation. I'm just bringing up the slides. Okay. So before I go any further with the presentation, with reference to this particular webinar, we would recommend a visit to your doctor if you've got any concerns around severe stomach pains or rapid weight loss or rapid weight gain, or any concerns around someone who is continually thirsty. Or we would be then signposting people in the first instance to go to see their GP so they are aware and perhaps can give medical advice if needed. Okay, so it's very important that you have a basic understanding of interoception and what this means. So this webinar needs to be watched after you've watched the Introduction to Interoception webinar. So if you've not yet seen this, please either click on the link above or search for this webinar on YouTube, watch the introduction, and then come back to this one. You may also like to bring a pen and notebook with you, as there is a short activity during this webinar, and you might like to perhaps write notes or write down any queries that it brings up for you, and you may want to research these afterwards. So I'm hoping by now you've watched the Introduction to Interoception, and you will have learned that interoception helps us to manage the way we feel by prompting us to take action based on the body sensations we notice. The majority of us recognize these sensations and have good interoception awareness. The purpose of this webinar is to focus on two areas of the body in particular, the stomach and the mouth, linking these to eating and drinking. To help you to notice these areas of your body and to encourage you to practice to think about how your mouth and your stomach can feel and how to be able to describe this. So if you have good interoception awareness, you won't have any problems with recognizing if you're hungry or thirsty and whether you need to go and get something to eat or to drink. You need to be able to notice and to connect the body sensations involved in needing to get something to eat or drink. If you have poor interoception awareness, this can lead to real difficulties in this area. So if I just focus on eating for the moment, if you do not notice the sensation that your stomach is rumbling, your brain will not receive the signal to tell you that you need to go and get something to eat. Alternatively, if you do not recognize the sensation of your stomach being full, you do not recognize when to stop eating, which could lead you to feeling or being sick, perhaps gaining weight or becoming obese, and this can lead to additional health conditions. So as much as it is important to be able to recognize when you are hungry, it is just as important to recognize the body sensation of when you are full. Interoception awareness helps you to manage the way you feel by prompting you to take action based on the body sensation that you notice. So if we think about this in 3 steps, step 1 is to practice how your body feels. So in this case, recognizing the sensations around your stomach and where it is in your body. Step 2 is to notice what this sensation means. Noticing when your stomach is empty or full and recognizing this sensation. Kelly Mahler refers to this step as the emotion, but we feel the word sensation fits better with the people we work with. And step 3 is to take action when your stomach is empty or full by going to get something to eat or to stop eating. Hangry is a real word. It's now in the Oxford Dictionary, and it means bad-tempered or irritable as a result of hunger. People with good interoception awareness will be able to recognize when they feel like this. However, if you've got poor interoception awareness, you may be hungry, but you will not notice the body sensations that are telling you to go and get something to eat and drink. Eat something to eat in particular. If I give you an example of a young man I worked with, he was having difficulties in managing his day at college, and by the afternoons, this was resulting in him getting into trouble for being rude with his staff and aggressive with his peers, often leading to a full meltdown. And although he had money to buy food at college and knew where the canteen was, he did not recognise that he was getting hungry, which by the end of the day was causing the issues, leading to communication breakdowns. And once he was at the point of a full meltdown, he was too emotional and frustrated to be able to eat. So this young man was not able to notice the body sensations, so he didn't feel his stomach rumbling, and nor was he able to connect the sensation. For example, rumbling stomach means go and get something to eat. So if we're working with people on this, we need to help people to notice the body sensation, but then also to connect the body sensation to the action and form a response. So go and get something to eat at that point. And this webinar is focusing primarily on the body sensations coming from the stomach and the mouth, and noticing the sensation and then going to get something to eat or drink, so taking action. So I'm going to talk through steps 1 and 2 with the stomach first, and then steps 1 and 2 with the mouth. And I'll then go on to discuss step 3, take action, and for the stomach and mouth together, because these two are linked. So step 1, noticing the body sensation of your stomach. It's important to be aware of where your stomach is in your body. If you're supporting someone, ask them to show you where on their body their stomach is. Can you or the person you're supporting describe the feelings around your stomach? How can it feel? So step 2, write down the words you use to describe how your stomach can feel. Now any word is okay, as it's personal to each individual. So if you're supporting someone and the words that are chosen sound unusual to you, that doesn't matter. That's okay, as long as the word is meaningful to the person. So if you have your pen and paper ready, try writing some words down now. If you're finding it difficult, perhaps an example might be, how does your stomach feel when you've had a big meal? Does it feel full? Could you use that word to describe it? So pause the webinar for a few moments and think about words you can use to describe how your stomach can feel. So did you come up with any of these words? My stomach can feel empty. My stomach can feel tight, fluttery. My stomach can feel tingly or sore or nauseous, or any other words. Okay, so thinking about your mouth now, step 1 for the mouth. So think about your mouth and how this can feel. Where is it on your face? Can you feel it on your face? Think about how your mouth can feel when you're thirsty. So again, step 1, noticing the body sensation of your mouth and finding words to describe this. So the same as for the stomach, this time thinking about words to describe your mouth. How can your mouth feel? For example, how does your mouth feel when you've had a big drink? Does it feel wet? Can you use that word to describe it? Again, pause the webinar here and spend some time writing down how your mouth can feel. And again, any word is okay as long as it's personal to you or personal to the person that you're supporting. So pause the webinar and write down some words. So did you come up with any of these words? My mouth can feel wet. My mouth can feel cold. My mouth can feel warm or tight. My mouth can feel empty. My mouth can feel like I want to bite or to chew. So it's very useful to have words to describe how your mouth is feeling. Sometimes people can find that exercise very difficult and find it hard to think of words to describe. So if you're struggling, there are a few practical things that you can try to help people to think about how their mouth or their stomach can feel. So for the stomach, you might try sitting in a chair and moving your stomach in and out as fast as you can for 15 seconds. Then stop and rest. And then how does your stomach feel when you stop moving? Can you write down some words? Another practical thing to try is think about eating your favourite food. How does that make your stomach feel? And a couple of suggestions to help people thinking about words for the mouth. So take a sip of really cold water and hold it in your mouth for a moment. And then swallow it. And then how does that make your mouth feel? Or you could try gently rubbing your tongue back and forth on the roof of your mouth for about 15 times. How does that make your mouth feel? Does that make your mouth feel tingly? So you might think of some other suggestions like that to help people find describing words. And remember that even if a body sensation is uncomfortable for you, so for example, the sensation of a full stomach, it is really helpful to notice it, as that sensation is giving us important information on what we need to do to stay healthy and to feel good. So for example, to stop eating anymore. So if you can use a word to describe the feeling of your stomach being empty or full and what that feels like, or using a word to describe that you feel thirsty, and then you can connect this sensation to an action. So remember to think about the 3 steps and linking them together. So step 1, how does your body feel? Step 2, recognizing the sensation and what it means, using one of your describing words to describe how it feels. And then step 3, take action. What action or activity do you need to do to make you feel more comfortable? So step 3, connecting the sensation, so the empty stomach, to the action, going to get something to eat. So this step comes with lots of practice, especially if you're learning to recognize the body sensations of feeling hungry, having an empty stomach, or the body signal of feeling thirsty, and learning how to describe this. So practical things you might try. So it will depend on the individual as to which strategies might be supportive. But the most important thing is to encourage interoception awareness so that you recognize your own body signals of when you feel that your stomach is empty or full, or to recognize the feeling of being thirsty. So practicing and following steps 1 and 2. But they can be used in conjunction with prompts and reminders. So if you're working with children, some strategies might be just try telling someone that you're hungry or thirsty. And this will obviously depend on the verbal skills or the social situation. It might be more appropriate to perhaps raise a card showing a picture of food or drink, or perhaps pointing to a picture of food or drink if someone has limited speech. Or it might be just having a mutually agreed signal with those that are supporting you to indicate that you are hungry or thirsty. Another useful strategy is to make visual timetables using pictures of food and drink, and using the pictures to indicate when it's time to go and get something to eat and drink during the day. There's a simple daily routine planner at the end in the resources that might be a useful sample for you to try setting up a visual timetable. You might try using phone reminders or alarms to prompt you to go and get something to eat or drink. Or there are apps with timetables for daily activities, setting aside time to eat and drink. One example we've trialled and had success with is the Handy Calendar app. Or you can just simply use a phone calendar and use the alarms on this as prompts to go and get something to eat and drink throughout the day. There's some fabulous apps reminding and encouraging you to take a drink on a regular basis, and also to be able to record how much you're drinking. You may also consider purchasing a water bottle with timed markers on it, encouraging you to take regular drinks throughout the day. And I've got an image of some of these coming up on a further slide. So it can also be useful when in new environments or visiting new areas that you plan a familiarization trip or visit. And that can be arranged so that the person knows where the canteen or the water stations are located. And it can also really help to reduce the anxiety of the unknown around this area. It might be useful to take photographs of the area and add these to your visual timetables if this is helpful. The most important thing is to practice recognizing the sensation of a full or empty stomach and the sensation of what a dry mouth feels like, and being able to describe this sensation and act on it. So these are just a few of the apps that are out there, a few that I mentioned earlier that can encourage you to drink more throughout the day. There's a drink water reminder app, one called Plant Nanny and Water Balance. And these apps are listed in the further resources at the end of the webinar. Just please take note, though, not all of the apps are free to use. And this is just a couple of pictures of images of water bottles encouraging you to drink throughout the day. These can be found easily in many supermarkets or also online. And there's just some blank resources here that you may find useful. So locating the stomach on the body, a word chart to describe how your stomach can feel, which can be adapted to the mouth also. And then this is just a simple example of a daily routine board. You might like to trial something like this, adding prompts throughout the day to eat and drink. And finally, some references and resources. We hope that you found this webinar helpful, and you may like to research into our other webinars in this area. So there's interoception awareness and anxiety, interoception awareness, eating and drinking, interoception awareness, temperature and pain, and finally interoception awareness and sight and sounds. Thank you for listening.